it's been a while since we have done a review on my channel. In fact, I think the last time I actually did a match review on my channel was back in MLS Cup in December, and obviously I get a chance to do more of these match review as we get closer to the season. I mean, it's only less than a month before the MLS regular season began, and in I think 3 weeks CCL is going to begin, and I'll start doing some match review. But nevertheless, in this game between Canada versus the US, I gotta give my hats off to Canada. I mean, they really play well in this game, and in some ways this was a game that they deserved to get all 3 points because while they didn't have a lot of possession throughout this game, and the fact that at times they had to absorb so much pressure from the US, they did a really good job in terms of absorbing that pressure, and that back line for Canada was absolutely locked down in this game. Now, that being said, for the US, yeah, this was not a good performance whatsoever. Remember back in September, or back in the early part of the World Cup qualifying window, I said that, yes, the US had some of these games where they look flat going forward on the attack, and in the final third they looked very lackluster, and I thought, well, I've seen this before from the US, and eventually things are going to get better as the tournament goes through. Well, it's now January, and we are now really deep into the World Cup qualifying stage, and the fact that we're still seeing these kind of performance like that, yeah, there is definitely some rights for some US fans to be very concerned about this team. Although I will say that I'm not going to be at that level where, I did keep a track on the Reddit, the comment stream on the MLS website, and I can already tell there's a lot of doomers that's saying that this team is not going to make the World Cup and stuff like that, and that they're not going to do well even if they make it to the World Cup. And I'll just say that, first qualify for the World Cup and see how it goes. But it's also kind of understandable why maybe some might be very concerned with this team, especially with the performance that they put going forward on the attack. Now, the starting 11 for this team, there were a couple of changes. One change that wasn't different from the last game is Matt Turner in goal, and Serginho Dest and Tyler Adam and Anthony Robinson. Then you got Jonas Musa, Weston McKennie, Jerzy Zardes, Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Miles Robinson, and Chris Richer. And I think the only change was Chris Richer, Jerzy Zardes coming into this game. But other than that, I don't think there was another change on this team that I was aware of from that game when the U.S. play against El Salvador. Game time temperature was at 19 degrees with a bad turf, and the field dimension was 68 yards. So, yeah, this was definitely one of the big concerns coming into this game with, the turf being very bad in a cold weather, and also the dimension is even smaller than the one you see at Yankee Stadium. And I think after this game, we can safely say that we can't really complain about, well, I know there's still going to be people complaining about Yankee Stadium and the field dimension, but it feels like at least NYCFC fans have a legitimate argument that, yes, I know our soccer dimension isn't really up to MLS standard, but hey, you have to deal with the same thing when you watch the national team play, especially when they do play in a World Cup qualifier in kind of an American football stadium, or in this case a Canadian football stadium in Hamilton. They also said that the attendance for this game was around 12,000 because they announced that they were going to cap the capacity at 50%, although I don't think that is actually true. Like, in many ways, I feel like the attendance clearly was not 12,000 with the way that the stands was, which, first of all, I got to give a huge props to these Canadian fans, and that I feel like maybe a couple of years ago you would not see this happen, where there was a sea of red and a lot of Canadian flags in the stands. But it was a really pro-Canadian crowd, and again, even though they said it was 50% capacity, it looked like it was a packed stadium. I mean, well, I wouldn't say it was completely packed because I did see some empty seats throughout the stadium, but it looked like there was like 20,000 or even closer to the capacity at that stadium. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that of course is the case, and I'm pretty sure the Ontario government is not going to be happy when they see that, but who cares? This is Canadian soccer, and I'm pretty sure maybe their government might let this one slide, knowing the fact that their team is now inching closer of potentially moving on to the World Cup. And it's kind of crazy to say, but heading into the octagonal, if you would have told me that this team would be at the top of the standings and have yet to lose a game this season, I would think that would be crazy. I mean, yes, I know this Canadian team has a lot of talent in their roster, but you just feel like there's it seems too good to be true. The fact that they are at the stage that they are, and in this game again, it just proved why they are at the top of the standing in the octagonal as we head into these last couple of games of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying stage. Now, in the first half, I thought the U.S. was on the front foot early with lots of possession, but it was actually Canada, the one that scores the early goal, and it's the former Orlando City player, Kyle Larin, currently with Besiktas, scoring from David to make it 1-0 in favor of Canada. Not a great moment for the back line of the U.S. and Turner, and I believe it all started when Zardes, of course, lose the header. I mean, Jerzy Zardes, yeah, he's going to get absolutely slandered throughout this game, not only from casual U.S. fans, but especially the hardcore ones. And I think you know, I know the hardcore U.S. fans sometimes can be very, very toxic, and sometimes they tend to be a little bit overreacted, but unfortunately they kind of prove everyone right about Jerzy Zardes, where he just had a really poor game in this one. But also I would say that this was not a great moment for Matt Turner too, and you know, overall it was not a great game for Matt Turner. And I know he might use the excuse, the fact that the turf was bad, but you can't use that when the other goalkeeper across you in Milan Bojan was having a great game of himself. But yeah, that one I feel like Turner should have saved it. I mean, it was hit with power from Kyle Larin, but it's one that, you know, the caliber that Matt Turner is, and especially when Matt Turner was in form in last season when he was with New England, that's one that I think he should have saved. But yeah, Canada was up 1-0 in this game. Richards looking to try to quickly respond from the U.S. as he's trying to flick one in, but it goes wide from the corner. Lots of rough challenges early in this game, with some being obvious foul ignored by the referee. By the way, this was a Mexican referee in this game, so you knew that he's going to have his bias towards the U.S. and going to give a lot of benefit of the doubt for the Canadian in terms of some of those fouls. And I've saw it throughout this game, and at this point I'm not even upset anymore. I mean, before I would be upset about it, but it's just kind of the reality with CONCACAF refereeing, and you're going to see some of these obvious fouls that, you know, if this was MLS, it would have definitely been called 9 out of 10 times, but because of CONCACAF, you know, you're going to have to kind of stick with some of these frustrations that you would usually see that is obviously being called a foul, but it's not given in this case. Despite having most of the possession, the U.S. looked very poor in the final third and in the final ball. That would be a continuing theme throughout the entire part of this game. Adams then skied one from long range in the 27th minute before Pulisic skied it high from 23 yards out. I mean, Christian Pulisic, he just looked lost right now, and this is definitely started to be very concerned if you're the U.S., because he's supposed to be the poster boy of this U.S. men's national team, and the fact that his confidence has just dropped to rock bottom. And it also doesn't help the fact that, you know, Chelsea isn't really giving him a lot of minutes and also kind of playing him out of possession. Yeah, it's a very concerning factor that Pulisic is not doing well whatsoever. And it's also kind of just just kind of sums up the U.S. too, where when your best player is not performing well, then it's not a big surprise that the team is also not playing well either. The shots was 6-2 in favor of the U.S., but the U.S. have yet to register a shot, while Canada, you know, with the 2 shots, one of them, of course, was on target, and that was the one that Kyle Larin scored. But then in the 43rd minute, Bojan absolutely robbed McKennie on a header. I mean, McKennie really met this corner well, but, you know, Milan Bojan, we know how he is just in the best form of his life. And I like the fact that he also bring out those gray sweatpants back. I mean, if Canada does make it to the World Cup, then those gray sweatpants will definitely something to be talked about. And if Milan Bojan eventually call it a career, I think those sweatpants will definitely belong in the Canadian Soccer Hall of Fame, or even in the Sports Hall of Fame, as such a legendary kind of thing. Because, you know, nowadays, you know, with goalkeeper, you just don't see that happen. Like, that's something you might see back in the 80s or in the 90s. But hey, you know, I love it when players or goalkeepers decide to bring that nostalgia kind of feeling up of kind of seem like this is still the 1980s, but in this case, you know, it feels like those gray sweatpants has been a good luck charm for Canada, and especially for their goalkeeper Milan Bojan. But we head to halftime with Canada leading 1-0, and in the second half, to just show you a classic CONCACAF moment that happened in this game, Victoria elbowed Zardes and also kind of tried to pretend that he, of course, had a head injury and went down. No yellow card was given in that. Like, if that is not more of a classic CONCACAF moment, I don't know what is, because we've seen this so many times before where it's pretty obvious that in other leagues, and especially in MLS, you see that happen. That's automatically could potentially be a red card, and they go to VAR to look at. And keep in mind, VAR was actually in play in this game, but like I said before, you know, even though when VAR was introduced in the World Cup qualifying, how much would you bet that they're not going to use it properly? Because remember, the same people that is basically using VAR is the same people that is basically refereeing this game. And yeah, I wasn't surprised the fact that there's many times in this game where it could have gone to VAR and they decide not to go, which at times I would say it could be a good thing, even though I know that sounds wrong, because you don't want to have a situation where you have to go to VAR like every 5 minutes and kind of just disrupt the game. But at the same time, you can also make the argument the fact that how in the world does elbowing a player in a game is not actually worthy a yellow card. It's simple, because this is CONCACAF, and we've been seeing this pretty much every single year. And if you're not accompanying the CONCACAF shithousery, which, you know, Canada, I thought throughout this game, they really played the CONCACAF shithousery to a maximum level, then you're clearly haven't watched enough CONCACAF like I have done in these past couple of years. Now, in the 54th minute, there was some coming togethers for the first time as Des and Buchanan decided to exchange some choice words. By the way, I was actually watching the Sportsnet feed in this one, which, by the way, the commentary, yeah, it was pretty obvious that they were very biased toward Canada, and sometimes they were kind of a little bit obnoxious, but I wouldn't blame them, because this is just such a big moment for their team, and I think any commentator would be excited of seeing their national team do well. But they also kind of really talk about the rivalry and really almost kind of embed the fact that this is a rivalry. And, you know, after this game, I think there is definitely a case that in the future there could be that rivalry standpoint between the U.S. and Canada. But I still think, in my opinion, it's kind of like a little bit of a sibling rivalry more than what we see with the U.S. versus Mexico. And, you know, I still think U.S. versus Mexico will always be the king of rivalry, though I won't be surprised in a couple of years where we could maybe see something similar to that, but at a low level where it's not going to be anything like what we see with U.S. versus Mexico. Now, once again, the U.S., I thought they were looking good on the build-up, but the final third is just not there. Aronson hits one straight to Bojan, and then 65 minutes in, still no sub from Greg Berhalter. And it seems like as soon as I wrote that, he probably saw me write that on the board, because literally 1 minute later, he decided to make some changes. And I'm not quite sure, was this him forcing to make changes because Tyler Adams went down with an injury, and that has to be very concerned if you're a U.S. fan, knowing the fact that Tyler Adams limping off the field. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not if he's going to be available on that crucial must-win game against Honduras in Minnesota on Wednesday. But yeah, a triple change was made as Morris, Acosta, and Pepe was coming into this game. Then just 1 minute after the sub, Turner had to deny David, but he did allow a rebound, and Laren could have easily put away that rebound there, but unfortunately he hits it straight to Matt Turner. So again, I think Turner breathes a sigh of relief, because again, it was not a great moment for him, and overall, just not a good game for him. And, you know, if you're an Arsenal fan watching this game, yeah, you might start to have some doubts after seeing how Matt Turner, of course, performed. Though, I will say that, you know, him going to Arsenal, I've said it before, at the very best, I think he's going to be a backup goalkeeper. Like, there's no way that he's going to be a starter with the likes of Ramsdale and Leno still in goal for Arsenal, which, you know, again, this does still bring up that debate of whether or not if it's the right choice for Matt Turner to go to Arsenal. I mean, it's great the fact that he is finally going to go to the Prem and able to get some more money. But at the same time, are you going to get some more game time? And also, it's kind of a big concern with the way that now you have two of our best goalkeeper are just kind of bench warmer for Premier League team, and that just does not bode well when you need to have a goalkeeper that can step into the national team and do well when they aren't even getting some playing times. Now, as the time winds down, the U.S. continue to press for the equalizer, but the final third is just not there. I mean, that's probably the fourth time I mentioned it on the board because it was the story of the game. Like, the U.S. just could not do anything in the final third. Like, the build-up was good. Like, they did a good job in terms of bossing the midfield for against Canada, but when they get to the final third, that's when everything kind of broke down. Ariola then tried to do a bicycle effort that goes wide. For a second, I thought that went in, but unfortunately, it just goes wide there. Edikobi then tried to finish it off for Canada, but it goes high. And then Pulisic tried to do a Jacob Glesnes, try to strike it from 35 yards out, but this one goes right to Bojan. Before, in the 5th minute, Edikobi basically calls it game there with an absolute goal also from Kamal Miller to give Canada a 2-0 win. And yeah, that of course was the final score of this game. As to shots in this one, 13 shots for the 8 that Canada has, 4 shots on goal for the 3 that the US had, 6 shots off target for the 3 that Canada has, 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Canada has. And I actually got the possession wrong here. No, the U.S. didn't actually had 36% possession. I mean, the way you saw this game, there was no way the U.S. had less possession. But yeah, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Canada has. And again, it's just, it was an infuriating game to watch in the U.S. perspective because, you know, I really don't think they play badly, especially when they go for it on the build-up. But it's just that final third that is just letting this team down. And again, this is starting to be very concerning with the way that this was a problem back in September, and I thought eventually it was going to fix out, and it just hasn't done so. And you know, they're gonna have to, of course, address that as they play very quickly in a turnaround on Wednesday against Honduras, in a game where I even said before, it's an absolute must-win right now. Like, you know, in CONCACAF region, you want to, of course, get wins at home and maybe get points on the road. And in this one, I didn't think it was going to be an easy game where the U.S. are going to get a point. I mean, I know some people say that you know, getting a point against Canada is definitely realistic. No, Canada definitely have shown throughout this World Cup qualifier that they are the kings in the CONCACAF region, and they prove it again with an incredible performance to stay unbeaten. And again, I really think now, barring any major collapse that Canada is going to have in these last couple of games, this team is going to make it to the World Cup, and that has to be a huge accomplishment for a team that haven't made it to the World Cup since what, like 1984 was like the last time they made it to the World Cup. But nevertheless, what an incredible accomplishment. And just kind of shows you that this team, you know, with the golden generation that they had, this team can definitely do some good things and can really be the kings of the CONCACAF region and getting this statement win against the U.S. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this review. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.